So the first topic I want to talk about is that a sequel to 28 Days Later has been announced, with the original director, original writer coming back. I think this is great news. As somebody who loved 28 Days Later, in my opinion, it's one of the best zombie movies, and it's just a great movie. And it's one of those zombie movies that really stands out in the genre. I know there was a sequel called 28 Weeks Later, released back in 2007. That was kind of a standalone movie with a little bit connected to the first movie. I never saw that sequel, so let me know in the comments how that was. I mean, I probably will watch it before the new one comes out, though. And apparently, it's also saying in the report that it's going to be a Star Wars trilogy, and I think it's saying it's going to be called like 28 Years Later. And I just think this is exciting news. Again, if you haven't seen 28 Days Later, go check out that movie. If you're looking for some like a great zombie film, that original movie is just, like I said, fantastic. And I'm glad to bring back the original director, original writer, because it makes it sound like that they have an actual really good story idea of why to do more stories in that world. And I think you could explore that world more. You could focus on some other characters or have it take place in a different location. And I think there is more to explore in that world. So I'm just glad they're getting back to the original team, and I definitely can't wait for this 28 Days sequel. And hopefully, if it ends up being good, they end up doing a trilogy like the report is saying. The next thing I want to talk about is that there was this trailer put out for this vampire movie called Abigail. Now, I didn't know about this movie until I saw a trailer, and I gotta say, this has entered one of my most anticipated movies this year. I love the concept. Like, it's something I feel like we haven't seen in a vampire movie, where the story in the trailer is showing that you have this group of criminals that kidnap this little girl, and they end up finding out she's a vampire. So they get stuck in this mansion uh, where the guy who hired them, has them locked in the mansion so they can be food for the kid. And I just think it just looks like a very fun concept, like something I haven't seen in a vampire movie. And it has a lot of great cast members in there. Like it has the girl who played Sam in Scream 5 and 6. It has the girl who played Ant-Man's daughter in Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. And it just has a great cast from the trailer. And it's also directed by the team who did Ready or Not, which I love. That's one of my favorite horror movies. Go check the movie out if you haven't. And they also directed Scream 6, which was one of my favorite horror movies from last year. So they've done a great job with horror films. And I also love how in the trailer, this little girl, they show she's a ballerina dancer, and they show using her ballerina dancing skills during the fight scene in the trailer, which I think looks really cool. Like a different element to the action. And I'm somebody that's really craving for a great vampire movie because I feel like there hasn't been a great vampire movie in a while. Like there hasn't been that many good ones lately. Like I can't remember the last one I actually loved. It's definitely been a while. So I think the concept looks really fun. I think this looks like a really fun trailer. Like it has that dark tone to it, but also fun at the same time. The kid looks creepy in the trailer. So I think this is a great trailer. Like go check out the trailer for Abigail. To me, this has become definitely one of my most anticipated movies this year, like I said. The next topic I want to talk about is that it's been announced that a Star Trek movie that's going to be set decades before the 2009 film is coming. Now, I personally love the Star Trek 2009 film. I love Star Trek Beyond. I liked In the Darkness the first time I saw it, but it's definitely gone down on me. This is why I really don't like that movie now. Because I used to think when I saw it the first time, I was like, I enjoyed it. But on the rewatches, I was like, yeah, this is terrible. It's become like one of my least favorite Star Trek movies now. But I love the cast. And I do love the idea of kind of exploring some of the timeline before that crew. Because I think it gives them a chance to like explore some new characters, focus on different characters or a different group in the Star Trek world. Now, the report also says that Star Trek 4 is happening, but it sounds like it's going to be a final chapter. I know that movie's been in development for years. I mean, you had a Quentin Tarantino Star Trek movie, I remember that was going to be like all weighted, and they've gone through many different ideas of a Star Trek movie or who's attached to it. And I'm just glad Star Trek 4 is still going to happen. I do think they need to bring the budget down for these Star Trek movies because it's not like Star Trek is popular, but it doesn't make the type of money that Star Wars makes. And I just think a Star Trek movie would do better if you just kind of bring the buzzer down. And I'm just excited because I do love the cast from that timeline. I definitely would want to see at least one more adventure with that cast. If this ends up being a send-off movie, this is the final movie for what it sounds like. I'm glad we're going to get at least one more movie with that cast because I think that cast is great. Last thing I want to talk about is the Exorcist sequel has been in delay definitely, and they lost the director. Now, I'm not surprised by this. And look, I'm one of those people that was very high on the Exorcist Believer the first time I saw it, and I stand by my first experience. I saw it at an advanced screening with a friend, and the first time I saw it, I was really high on it. I thought it was a great sequel to the original. Not as good as the original, but that's what I thought the first time. Now, when I went back to rewatch it a second time, and I've seen it like 3 times now, it's definitely gone down. Where it's at the point now where I find it to be a very mediocre movie, where it's a disappointing sequel to the original, and it doesn't hold up like the original does. And look, this is a franchise where I don't think any of the movies in the franchise are particularly very good. Like they're nowhere near that was Estes movie. That was Estes movie, in my opinion, just holds up so well, at least personally for me. When it comes to the story, when it comes to the characters, when it comes to how creepy it is. And I can definitely, this is one of those franchises where I always felt like you should have just left it as just a original movie and not really made it into a franchise. It also just makes sense because, look, yeah, the movie financially made money. I mean, I will give it that. It made slightly over 100. It wasn't made for high budget. Blumhouse movies typically they're kind of more on the lower budget side. But critically, it got slammed by critics. It got torn apart. It has like a 20 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, when it came to audience, it has like a 58, I think. So it was very split down the middle. But most reviews I've seen for SS Believe It, for the fans who love the original, were either disappointed or hated it. And when it comes to director who directed it, he directed the recent Halloween trilogy. I haven't seen anything outside of the Halloween trilogy. I just believe that he's done. And I don't think he was. When I went back to rewatch SS Believer, and the fact it's gone down my rewatches for me, I don't think he should continue to be the director of this franchise. I mean, I know they originally were planning to do a third movie, which because Believe was going to be Star Wars trilogy, which I think was nuts because, in my opinion, you gotta wait to see how your first movie does before you like say you're going to do a trilogy. I notice that with studios sometimes. I'm like, wait till you see how the first movie does before you say you're going to do a trilogy. And that third movie, I don't think that's going to happen. Honestly, I think the second movie could still happen, even though it's been taken off the release calendar. I don't know when the second one was supposed to come out, but it's basically saying it's in delay definitely, and Oscar's gonna have to look for a new director now. But I don't think the third one's gonna happen. The third one's gonna happen. I think they'll probably do the second one, and that would be it. But I do think you need to find a different director. Even with the Halloween trilogy, the recent Halloween trilogy, I like the 2018 Halloween film. I think it's fun. It's not, I don't think it's great. There's some things that stopped it from being great. Halloween Kills, I think, is watchable. I mean, that's a decent movie mainly because of the kills, but there's a lot of issues with that movie. And Halloween Ends, I just really didn't like. I appreciate the fact that Halloween Ends took a risk, but it was a risk that didn't work for me personally. And that trilogy pretty much felt like the Star Wars sequel trilogy to me, where it felt like they just don't connect all that well, and it feels like they didn't know what they were doing in that trilogy. Or it felt like the Hobbit trilogy, where they were trying to extend it to a trilogy, which you just needed 2 movies to tell that story. But either way, it was a very divisive trilogy among the fans. So he hasn't had the best track record with popular horror franchises. I mean, I think his best movie out of the 4 movies he's done, like when it comes to these horror popular franchises, was the 2018 Halloween film, which I think was fun. But the humor and the whole twist with Michael's new doctor was the 2 things that bring that movie down for me. But it was still a fun movie. But he's definitely had a very, not the best track record with popular horror franchises right now. whatever whatever you feel when it comes to his Halloween, the recent Halloween shows, as this believer, but it hasn't seemed like it's been landing for a lot of people. So I think it makes total sense to then and delay this movie, definitely this Exorcist Believer sequel. I think you need to get a new director. I think you definitely need to go back to the drawing board, and hopefully, the next one will be better. I mean, if it gets made, great. If it doesn't, I'm honestly not gonna have a problem with that either. But hopefully, like I said, the next one. I hope the next one is good. I hope they like get a really good story for the next one, and they like get a director you can really bring something great to this franchise like the original Exorcist movie. Because to me, that movie holds up. While, like I said, Believe It for me didn't hold up on my rewatches. So, like I said, I stand by my first experience with that movie, but I also stand by the fact that I'm somebody that finds rewatches very important in a movie because it means that okay, this is a movie I want to go back to rewatch again and again. I never get tired of it. Maybe it means that that's a movie I want to own physically, and that I will want to see multiple times in theaters. And Believer, it just didn't hold up for me on rewatches. So I think personally, this is good news for SS fans. And look, I'm happy for people that that loved Essence Believer. I always say this about film. I'm always happy when people, love the movie I didn't, or like the movie I didn't, because it makes me jealous. I wish it held up on me on rewatches. But I think this is good news for Essence fans personally. So that's all the movie news today. Until next time, movie fans.